What's up, all you fine folks out there in YouTube world? So, I have a viewer who has an issue. JK Moto. So I'm going to post a video. I'm going to go through what I dealt with to try to help him. And if anybody can comment in there to try to help him out too, if they hear something that I don't say that should be said. So, he's having a problem with getting no spark on his Raptor 660. So I'm going to go through with what my experience was, what I've learned with this, and what I did to try to find the spark. So really, in here, there's two separate systems within the side cover. Number one, the pickup coil right there. That tells it when to spark. So this wire that comes off of here is going to be your green wire, or it's a white wire with a green line. There's two of them that come up here. They can join, and then they go back to the CDI box back here. So where that tells it to spark, we'll grab the magneto. This one's sheared off, so I can't really show you on the motor, but there's a little magnet here. So once that passes that pickup coil, bam, bam, spark. Bam, bam, spark. So if this is not picking up here, it will not spark. That's what my problem was without getting, that's why I wasn't getting spark, was because the wires on the wiring harness for the pickup coil on the CDI box, try to pull this out of here, were corroded. And we accidentally ripped the wire out. I'm going to go get that out of there. One hand pull out. Gonna wind up ripping wires out. Let's see if I can figure out which wire that was. I believe it was on the 4-pin one. No, it's right here. It's on the middle one. It's the white wire with the green line. What had happened was, is it corroded right in the plug, and it broke off right inside the plug, and the wire was floating. So I didn't know that it had broke. I thought it was just an extra wire. There's lots of extra wires on here, so I thought that's what my problem was. Or I didn't think that was what my problem was until my neighbor came over and he was like, "What's this?" And then I investigated it more. I stripped the harness back, all the casing, and I followed the wire down. Right here's part of it, and it splices together in here too. That's another place to look. And if you replace your wiring harness with a used wiring harness, like I bought a used wiring harness and it looked like it was just dirty, but it's a lot more chopped and screwed than I thought it was. But I'm going to rebuild it into a good wiring harness. So if you bought a used wiring harness, my advice to you is to cut all of the casing off of it and check every single wire and make sure there's no burns, any corroded spots, any breakage or anything. And then if there is, repair it by getting some shrink wrap stuff for the wire. Get some splice connectors, not the butt connectors, not these trashy things. The brass ones where you can clamp them down and then put the shrink wrap over it. So you put the brass thing on there, put some flux on there, solder it, shrink wrap it. Bam. My problem was right here, so I clipped the whole plug off and I replaced the whole plug with one that I had on a other harness that was here. As far as spark, the things that have to do with spark is coil, orange wire, white with green line wire, and essentially that's it. CDI box. CDI box is a capacitor, and I'm still not fully understanding all this. I understand that it's a capacitor, and I understand that some of these lines are kill switch type things where it won't allow the capacitor to fire, so essentially not letting it run. Safety switches, stuff like that. Somebody in the comments could go into further detail, or maybe share a link to a video that goes into the depth of what all this does for the practical purposes of what I understand. It's fairly simple on the spark end. You could check the plug gap. When everything was fine before I lost spark, the plug gap was off. It was smashed together. Once I re-gapped the plug properly, I started to get spark again. But then when we were messing with the CDI box, I ripped that corroded wire out, and then we lost spark. So, I mean, I got my side cover off right now because I'm waiting on parts because we broke some stuff. So, my advice would be to pull the wiring harness out completely. Take it and remove all the housing, all the casing off of it, and check all the wires, unless it's a brand new harness. If it's brand new, which I didn't see spending $400 to $500 on a new wiring harness, so I didn't buy a new one. I bought a used one, but it was still $150. But they could have still chopped and screwed wires or have corrosion in there. It happens. So, ground wire, that's the wire to fire the plug. Ohms test. There's videos on how to do an ohms check on your coil. I bought a brand new coil, right? And my brand new coil from the factory was bad. So it could be a bad coil. Even still, even though it's brand new. Even though you replaced it twice, it could still be bad. Get a voltmeter. You can get one from Lowe's, Home Depot, any of those places, mom and pop shop. I got one the other day. It came with a bunch of other stuff because I do electrical work too. So it's that one was $29. You can get a voltmeter, a good one, for $25. That's the best case to get one of those in a situation like this, so you can, you know, do your resistance tests and stuff like that. Check your continuity, make sure there's no breaks in the wire. You could come back here on your orange wire and then take your ohms meter and then go onto the other end and check and make sure that you're getting connection. Stuff like that. You could go into your pickup coil without tearing your harness apart. You know, find the wires, find the wire up here, do a continuity test, see if you got connection. There is a connection right in here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. I think I taped over it. Or I think this might be old tape. I don't remember. It could be me. Nope, that's me. There's a connection in there. It could be corroded. So new or old, it could be, or, I mean, if it's a used harness, it could be that too. Somebody else might have screwed something up. But as far as sparking, there's not really too much to it. As far as I've learned, there's not much to it. Coil, pickup coil right there. I'm not sure if you reinstall it, because if you replace the starter, you replace the pickup coil. Or the stator, not the starter. And it's possible that if you didn't set your gap on this, that you might have ripped something apart in here. And the way you fix this and you set this is you put it back together, and you got to get a feeler gauge and that little window right there. See if I can. I got too many bolts in there. On the side cover, you got the 3 windows. That one, the one for the crankshaft, and there's that one right there. You just take that out, and you can see it. All right, and then you turn it by hand by putting a 19mm socket on there, and turn the motor by hand until you can see this. Stick your feeler gauge in there, and the way I did it, I mean, it's not practical, but it is what it is. I did what I had to do. I stuck a screwdriver in here and I pried on this to push it back because it was touching. And I'm not sure if that's okay or not. I don't think it's okay. See, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just telling you what I've experienced. But I checked my gap on that, and then ultimately what I found was that wire was broken on the CDI box. So I'm kind of putting this out here for you to hear what I tried and what I did, and also for other people who are on here that have knowledge of the Raptors and even this type of systems, that they can comment and try to help out too. So it kind of puts that out there. So with that being said, I really don't think there's much more that I can say. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed, because the stator puts out the AC voltage, which then goes through the rectifier and charges the battery, and also powers the lights and stuff. So the stator really has nothing to do with the spark. So, I mean, somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just putting that out there. And then the battery controls the starter and such. As far as spark, the CDI box is what fires the voltage to the coil to fire the spark. The magneto, with that magnet on there, spins to tell the pickup coil when to spark. So if you're not getting any spark, it could be that the magneto is not sending the pickup coil the signal, which would mean that either the magneto is not turning, which, I mean, the only way that that would happen is, it's probably not happening that way, to be honest with you, because shit would have to be loosened and broken, you'd know. So if that was turning and hitting it at the wrong time, you just get bad timing issue, and then that's the point where I would say to check the keyway or the Woodruff key. But you're not backfiring and stuff, you're not firing at all, you're not getting spark. You replaced everything, but if you're replaced with used, then it's possible that like a used CDI box, from what I've heard, a CDI boxes rarely go bad. That's what I've been told. It's most likely a wiring issue. So either when you reinstalled the new stator, you might want to check and see if your pickup coil got damaged, because if you put the new stator in there and then it turned and smacked the pickup coil, it might have damaged the pickup coil. So I would pull the side cover off, check that, make sure it looks good. I mean, I guess another thing to check, it may sound stupid, but like before, the magneto had sheared off of the starter clutch. And when it did, the person before the guy before me that had it didn't clean the bolts out, and those bounced around in there and caused all kinds of problems. So maybe something like that happened and it turned up in there and hit the pickup coil, possibly. But what it did to my stator, I mean, you can kind of see that this is the old one. It's kind of chewed up. There we go. It's kind of chewed up, misshapen. And I'm pretty sure that's from a bolt bouncing around in there. As far as the pickup coil goes, we can get it to focus here. Woo! I can see where the pickup coil is being hit on there. So I don't think the pickup coil on this is bad, or the stator. That was probably an okay stator, but I replaced it just in case. So basically I replaced everything that you did except for the CDI box. I've gone through a couple starter solenoids. Another thing that you could check possibly is the kill switch. I've heard things about the kill switch short circuiting and not giving spark, but I don't. This one right here, when you flip the kill switch, I do believe that just cuts the circuit to the starter, not the spark. So, because when you kill switch it, the starter won't turn. I don't know if it could potentially be something in your solenoid. I don't know if you said you changed the solenoid or not. I don't think it could be. I really feel like the only issues on here could be pickup coil, the spark plug coil, and then possibly the wires in between. A lot, like even the harness that was an extra that came with it, there's a lot of corrosion and stuff on there. That harness had been burned. This harness had been burned. I took wires from that one and I fixed this one, and I splotched this together. So I'm going to rebuild the other one and put it on here, and then rebuild this one so I have an extra good harness. But it needs to be put together correctly, otherwise you'll get corrosion. And even from the factory though, these connections aren't watertight. So that could be a problem. I noticed that some of the grounds, they're crimped together with a brass fitting, but other than that, they're just taped. So that could lead to corrosion and breakage. So you could have a broken wire, because even from the factory, the white with green, I don't know, I keep calling it the green with white. The white wire with the green line, even that one is spliced with a brass fitting with just tape over it. So it could be corroded. They could be broken right there. Even the corrosion could cause the disconnection. There might not be breakage, but it might be a bunch of corrosion, and you know, you're not going to see it. It's kind of like on your battery terminal for your car. If you get corrosion on there, and now all of a sudden your car won't start, it's acting like it's dead. If you take your terminals off, clean them with a wire brush, put them back on, then all of a sudden, boom, your battery's good. It was just corrosion on there blocking the connection. So check that too. Continuity would be important. Test that with a voltmeter. I'm not sure of the age. I don't know of your experience with electrical stuff, or if you know somebody who knows stuff about electrical stuff. I used to turn to my dad. My dad's not here anymore, so I have to rely on other sources to find information on how to do things. I kind of skipped my way through life, and that's kind of what he did, because his dad decided that he wanted to take his own life when he was 36 years old. So I never got to know my grandfather. My dad never knew his dad, so he didn't have anybody to pass his knowledge on, so he had to learn it on his own. And my dad taught me a lot of what I know, but then a lot of what I don't know, I would go to him for advice, but I can't anymore, so I have to rely on other sources. So it's good to have those sources. That being said, if you try those things and whatever, I mean, we can keep going back and forth. It's about being a community to help each other. I never thought I was going to see this thing live again. Like, I didn't think it was going to start. But we got it running. It ran. It rips. It's the most amazing thing in the world. I almost gave up on it again because I thought that I broke the piston rod. But I didn't. Because I had to stop, back up, and think for a minute. So, you know, it's always good to get a second opinion, third opinion, 100th opinion. Get other opinions. Don't rely on just one. You know, I don't know shit about shit, but I know a lot about a lot. I ain't no expert, but I know a little bit of information. So if you got any more questions, feel free to ask them. I will be open to answer them the best I can. And if I can't answer them, like just now before I made this video, I stopped my neighbor who does small engine repair. I talked to him about your issue, you know, and this is what he suggested. You know, it could be a bad coil from the factory. It could be two bad coils from the factory. If you order them from the same place and they came off the same line, it could be two bad coils. Order one from a different factory. Test the coil. Do an ohms test. It should, or ohms test should test between, I was told 18,000, I think kilo ohms. Don't quote me on it. You'll have to look it up. And like 25,000 or 10,000 and 25,000. I don't remember exactly what the numbers are. You can find them online. If it tests under 10,000, it's bad. Or under 15,000 or 12,000, I don't know what the low number is. It's a bad coil. The information's out there. If you need me to find it, I'll find it for you. And then I'll post it in the comments. Just let me know. I will definitely try to help the best I can. Once you get it running, you got to let me know, though. Because stupid ass electrical issues, man. They're irritating. Trust me, I know. I've been dealing with it this whole time. Electrical issue. And then I find a mechanical issue. But actually, it wasn't really a mechanical issue. It was a stupid ass issue from one of the dumbass owners that had it before. That didn't know what they were doing. That shouldn't have been inside of this motor. So, but I guess it could be a common mistake because, like, I made the mistake too. But eventually, I would have gone and searched for the broken bolt heads. And I would have found 9. Because I wouldn't have left those in there. So, it is what it is. We're going to be about 20 minutes now. Not really much more that I can say. I mean, there's a lot. And like if you have a butt connector splice in there, cut it out and replace it. You know? Most important wires, orange wire, white wire with green line. There should be 2 coming off the pickup coil. And then close to the CDI box, they can join into 1. Then they go into the CDI box in the middle plug. Should be the bottom row of wires on the very end, far if you're looking at the back end of the plug, far left side. So check that out. Pull on it. If it pulls out, I mean, unplug it. The plug that I had, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, I got the old plug laying here. I was just looking at it the other day. It's a mess in here. It's a disaster. All right, here. So the old plug. I don't know if you can see it on video. The discoloration in there, that's rust. So this has gotten wet and it corroded and everything. And that green and white wire goes right there. And even when let's see if I can get some light in there. Even when I looked down in there, it just looked like it was plugged up, just like that other one. That other one is just plugged up. That one doesn't go to anything, but the one on the left, that's an important wire. I had no idea, so I didn't dig into it. So pull on it, see if it comes out. It might break off. If it breaks off, then you know what you got to fix. If you said you bought a new wiring harness. I hope you kept the old one. Check that one. If that one's good, clip it off of there, splice it in. You know, it might fix your problem. If it does, and that was your problem, go ahead and take and do the connections properly. Pull them all apart. Do the brass connectors, the shrink wrap, and the soldering. That way you don't have to worry about the corrosion. All right, we're over 20 minutes, so I'm going to pop off of here. Let me know what you come up with. Keep it classy.